Life Audio.
On today's episode of Timeless Wisdom.
Here is the question, and it's a terrific one for those of you who have an issue with belief in God. And everybody does, by the way. Everybody who thinks, I think, has had an issue or continuing issues with it. Israel means struggle with God. So there's a very good understanding to begin with that it is a struggle. And by the way, just about everything worthwhile in life has struggle and has difficulty and has challenge in it. That is the way the world is made, I think, by God.
That's coming up on Timeless Wisdom with Dennis Prager.
Rising interest rates, stock volatility, out-of-control inflation. People are concerned about what the future holds financially. This is Dennis Prager for AmFed Coin and Bullion. There's no better time than the present to move a portion of your IRA into precious metals. You should know there's a right and a wrong way to set up your precious metals IRA. Mistakes could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in IRS fines. Call AmFed Coin and Bullion, 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com. That's AmericanFederal.com.
Welcome to Timeless Wisdom with Dennis Prager. Hear thousands of hours of Dennis's lectures, courses, and classic radio programs. And to purchase Dennis Prager's Rational Bibles, go to DennisPrager.com.
All righty, everybody, it's the Ultimate Issues Hour on the Dennis Prager Show. We talk about some great issue, whether it be in the news or tangentially related or just some great issue, whatever it might be. Welcome to the program. I have a question for you. This is a big, big hour because I'm inaugurating the third installment on the Prager University, where you can watch me in a very professionally made, because there's a lot of visual as well. It's on YouTube, but it's at PragerUniversity.com. It's the third. We began with the American Trinity, then happiness, and now here is the question, and it's a terrific one for those of you who have an issue with belief in God. And everybody does, by the way. Everybody who thinks, I think, has had an issue or continuing issues with it. You know, the word for Israel in Hebrew, and it's the God of Israel that we talk about in America generally, the Jews and Christians. The Judeo-Christian God is the God of Israel. Israel means struggle with God. So there's a very good understanding to begin with that it is a struggle. And by the way, just about everything worthwhile in life has struggle and has difficulty and has challenge in it. That is the way the world is made, I think, by God. And so it's very understandable that people struggle with the issue of God. I mean, there is so much injustice. The world is built unjustly. I mean, it just is. What am I going to say? I mean, you look around, you read history, you read about the staggering suffering of the 20th century alone, and you realize that this world is built so unfairly. I'm just reading David Horowitz's book, which will be out later in the year, and I may provide. I'm sure I will provide. In fact, I think it's a terrific book. He is, the famous David Horowitz of political note, but he's written a memoir about his daughter who died in her 40s. And his daughter had a particularly sad illness, Turner syndrome, which I had never heard of, but doctors know about. And it causes a whole host of problems in the individual, including physically. The person is particularly short. She was 4'7", and she had a whole host of other obvious physical problems and impediments. So obviously her social life with men was constricted tremendously. And it was a constant refrain in her life. She wondered, why me? I was just reading the part in his memoir about his daughter where she asks the question, why me? She sees her girlfriends going on dates. One of them was a particularly attractive one, had a date virtually every day. And, men would just not particularly look at her, and she knew this. She saw videos of herself at a friend's wedding and realized how she stuck out. And she said to a friend once, which David quotes in his book about his late daughter, that, hey, inside of me, I'm a sexy, thin, gorgeous woman, desirable to men. But that's not the way I appear. And, and all the other things that she suffered with this Turner syndrome, which is a lottery. Whether you're born with it or not, it's an extremely rare disease, but a certain number of people get it. And for those who get it, the fact that it's rare is no consolation. In fact, it's worse than no consolation. It's bad because they do little research on diseases that few people contract. Anyway, then you go to the 75 million Chinese that I read about who Mao Zedong killed, and the horrible ways in which they died, and what death from starvation must be like. I mean, and none of us can imagine it. I mean, the vast majority of you have never had, as I have never had. I mean, I've been hungry, but I've never been starved. I mean, the pain that entails. I mean, it's endless. I don't have to go through the questions about an unjust world. So anyway, people just have a big problem. Often, if they care, especially if they care about the issue of a just world. So the Ultimate Issues Hour is devoted to this specific question, though, not reconciling God and suffering, which is called theodicy. That's not my subject. It's not the subject of my latest Prager University video. No, my subject is this. People say often, I'll never forget Woody Allen in one of his films, I think it was, he said, I don't want any miracles. All I want, if God would just sneeze, I'd be very happy. Just to sneeze, God. Then reassure me that you're there. And I remember that vividly, and I think he expressed what a lot of people think. So my first video on the God issue is, what would make you believe in God? What would make you believe in God? What could happen? I want you to think about that as you hear. We're going to play for you. Now remember, all of these Prager University videos are 5 minutes. Now, of course, this is one time when it's a rare time where radio and audio don't do nearly the justice that a video does, because it is a video. But it's still good enough for you to hear. And remember, they're all 5 minutes, because the motto of Prager University is, you give us 5 minutes, we'll give you a semester. That's the musical background or melody, the theme for Prager University. And it's PragerUniversity.com. And here is what would make you believe in God.
A lot of people say, if God would only reveal himself. Who wouldn't like that? So I was thinking, let's say God did reveal himself. What would he have to do to prove to you that he existed? Think about it. Not just you, the entire world. What would God do? Let's say that God appeared to everybody and said, how you doing? I'm God, I'm here, in their own language. Now you might think, that would convince everybody if all of a sudden it got reported in the papers of the world and on radio throughout the world, God appeared to everybody at the same moment in Tagalog, in Swahili, in English, in Spanish, in Verduca, in Finnish, in every language, even in click language, and said, I am the Lord. Would that do it? I'll bet you people would say, nah, not convinced. It's probably a Republican religious right trick. So that wouldn't work. Let's say God would do, something else. What do you think God might do? Really think about it. What do you think God could do to prove to you that he exists? I have a thought. What if God cured everybody who had cancer? All of a sudden they got up, hey, no more cancer. Would that do it? No way. How would it do it? People would think that something had happened in the natural world to change it. Anyway, what happens the next day? Would nobody contract cancer forever? Because if, let's say, God did in fact save everybody who had cancer one day, and then didn't the next week, we'd go back to the same exact question.
How come he let person A die, but he saved person B? Not only does God not exist, but if he does exist, he is very, very temperamental, or at least very capricious. So I am still stumped, and it's something to think about. What would convince everybody in the world that there was a God? And frankly, I don't think that there's anything that God could do. It might work for 10 minutes. It might work for 10 years. But you see, people always ask, what have you done for me lately? And then God would have to do this stuff every day. But if God did this stuff every day, we would say that this is part of the natural process, and so we wouldn't think it was miraculous, because anything that happens every day doesn't seem like a miracle, does it? So I am convinced that there's nothing that God could do that would make his existence absolutely verifiable, absolutely, positively undoubtable by all humans. There is nothing
all
he
right,
can do.
we'll hold it. We'll hold it there, and we'll finish it. It's about a minute to go, I guess. 1-8-Prager-776. What would it take to make you believe in God? What would make you believe in God? The latest video, today's the inaugural day. It's at PragerUniversity.com. And it's something that to show yourself, your friends, your kids. Take your calls. I'm Dennis Prager.
This episode of Timeless Wisdom will continue right after this.
Rising interest rates, stock volatility, out of control inflation. People are concerned about what the future holds financially. This is Dennis Prager for AmFed Coin and Bullion. There's no better time than the present to move a portion of your IRA into precious metals. You should know there's a right and a wrong way to set up your precious metals IRA. Mistakes could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in IRS fines. Call AmFed Coin and Bullion, 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com. That's AmericanFederal.com.
Now, back to more of Dennis Prager's Timeless Wisdom.
Spring is upon us, follow my only song.
Hi, everybody. Dennis Prager here. The Ultimate Issues Hour. Third hour on Tuesdays. What would make you believe in God? That's the question. Not why you don't, or your issues that one might have. Those are all separate matters. I'm asking the question, though, because I've asked this to myself. Whenever I've had my doubts or my struggles, I've asked myself this question. Well, all right, Dennis, what would it take for God to prove that he exists? What could he do? And I don't mean just to me, but to all of humanity. And I've come to the conclusion there's really nothing that God could do, that I could think of at any rate. I mean, maybe God could alter the all of our brain matter, but that's a different world than the one we inhabit. But in the world that we inhabit, in the bodies that we inhabit, with the brains that we have, what could God do? And that is the subject of my latest video in PragerUniversity.com. What would make you believe in God? And here are the final 2 minutes of the 5-minute video. They're all 5 minutes and professionally done with graphics and tremendously enjoyable. Nearly 200,000 people have clicked on the American Values one alone. Go ahead.
So I am convinced that there's nothing that God could do that would make his existence absolutely verifiable, absolutely, positively undoubtable by all humans. There is nothing he can do. That's why we have prayers that say, every day your miracles are with us. Because every day there are miracles with us, but we don't think that they're miracles. We don't think that we're miracles, right? Come on, think about it. Oh, well, of course, if you just have enough time on enough planets and you do enough things, then it'll come out. It's like the old one, if you put enough monkeys on enough typewriters, one of them will, in fact, type Shakespeare's play, Hamlet. So guess what? A bunch of scientists in Britain decided to put a lot of monkeys in a room with a lot of keyboards and see what would happen. Now, obviously, they're not going to type Hamlet, but would any of them even type the or it? Well, they did put a lot of monkeys with a lot of keyboards, and they found no words but a lot of poop on keyboards. And that pretty much ended that particular argument of enough monkeys on enough typewriters, and you will get Hamlet. So it comes down to this. The truth is, there really is nothing that God could do that would absolutely make his existence unquestionable to all of humanity for the rest of humanity's existence. Nothing. And that's why the fact of the matter is, you look at the world and you conclude either, yes, it is a miracle that conscious beings exist, that we didn't go from Paramecia to Bach blindly, something did it. Or you just conclude it happened on its own. There's nothing he can do to prove himself forever. I'm Dennis Prager.
All right, that's at PragerUniversity.com. Today's the inaugural day. I hope you will watch it. I hope you will forward it to as many people as possible. It's free. It's just a service that we are engaged in because we don't believe that in a semester at the university you get much wisdom, or if you do, you get 5 minutes worth. So we've decided to give you a semester's worth of wisdom in 5 minutes. We hope to be able to produce hundreds of these, and not just with me, but with other very capable people who can summarize in 5 minutes some great theme in economics, in American history, in values, in religion, and in the sciences, and so much more. So I have this question today: what would make you believe in God? What could God do? See, and I've posed this my whole life, and I don't have an answer. As I said in the film, well, let's say God cured everybody who had cancer. All of a sudden, every cancer patient, no matter what stage of cancer, just got out of bed and was ready to shoot hoops. Okay, so what happens tomorrow? So if somebody contracts cancer tomorrow, then people will just say, well, it was a fluke. We don't know what causes cancer. We don't know what cures cancer, and so something happened. Let's say cancer were abolished forever. That wouldn't necessarily make everybody believe in God either, because then there would still be other diseases. And then people say, well, what about these other diseases? Well, let's say all those serious diseases got cured. Then there would be less serious diseases. Would you allow people to have less serious diseases that didn't kill them, that just incapacitated them? What about eventually people would just get awful colds, but then people, if all we got were colds, people would say, how come God allows colds? It's endless. Or why does God allow this one to be healthier than this one? All righty. 1-8-PRAGER-776. And let's see here. Let's see what you folks have to say. Very interested in that. Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Mark. Hi, Mark. Dennis Prager. Thanks for calling.
Hi, Dennis. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you.
I love this question. I heard you ask it last year, and I actually did take on your challenge to think about it.
Okay,
and I wanted
good.
to offer that I would absolutely believe in God if God did something that all men could both observe and no man could cause.
Right. Go on that. Yeah.
And that would be turning the sun blue for 24 hours.
Yeah, that'll do it. Mark, you crack me up. It's adorable, actually. So if the sun became blue for 24 hours, all 6 billion people would believe there was a God.
Indisputable by science.
Indisputable. Science would simply say we don't know how this happened. They would argue
we can't do it. We didn't do it. They would say
but wait. But there are a lot of things that we don't do, and that doesn't argue that God did it. I find that so adorable. We have to remember that, Alan, if we ever do a remake. Mark of Cherry Hill, New Jersey's theory that if only the sun turned blue for 24 hours, that would do it. Maybe if the sun turned blue and then in big red letters it said God, maybe that would be a good one. But there's no doubt of course people would hold out because, first of all, let's say it said God in English. So it would be regarded as American imperialism having done something with the atmosphere around the world to do it. And if it were written in some other language, then people would dismiss it as that. If it was written in Arabic, we would say that somehow there was an Islamist plot to get Allah up there in Arabic letters, and it just. And of course, if it were done in Hebrew, I mean, it would be, of course, needless to say, a Jewish conspiracy, because there's so many Jewish conspiracies that have been so effective, and so it's. I don't think even that would work. That's why this is such an important thing for us to realize. Maybe we have to appreciate daily miracles, which is what I think. Back in a moment. I'm Dennis Prager.
This episode of Timeless Wisdom will continue right after this.
Rising interest rates, stock volatility, out of control inflation. People are concerned about what the future holds financially. This is Dennis Prager for AmFed Coin and Bullion. There's no better time than the present to move a portion of your IRA into precious metals. You should know there's a right and a wrong way to set up your precious metals IRA. Mistakes could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in IRS fines. Call AmFed Coin and Bullion, 800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com. That's AmericanFederal.com.
Now, back to more of Dennis Prager's Timeless Wisdom.
All right, my friends, welcome back. The Ultimate Issues Hour on the Dennis Prager Show. Posing the question, what would make you believe in God? But I don't mean you personally, because everybody might have an individual answer. The question is, what would make everybody in the world believe in God? Could anything happen? And my answer after a lifetime's reflection is nothing. If life itself, if the complexity of life and the staggering achievement of the human mind, if that doesn't do it, if the caterpillar becoming a butterfly doesn't do it, then what's going to do it? Then the answer is nothing. That is why the truth of the matter is that the decision to believe in God is a decision one makes. And the decision not to believe in God is a decision one makes. And it is not something that just I take that back. Some people are overwhelmed one day by one or the other. That is true. But for most people, it is a decision you make. And based on the data, I make the decision that there is a God. The data suggests that to me powerfully. But I just want people to understand who ask the question, well, I need more evidence. What would do it? What would do it? And that's why we made this video. What would make you believe in God? And it is the latest one up at PragerUniversity.com. All righty, let's go to some more of your calls here. And Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Jeff. Hi, Jeff. Dennis Prager.
How you doing, Mr. Prager? How you doing today?
Oh, good. Thank you.
I just want to call. I know you like disagreement, but I actually completely agree with you. I'm a Catholic, and I believe that Jesus did reveal himself to us a couple thousand years ago, and people just don't believe that. And it's written down in the Bible, and people challenge that. And I just think people would say, well, if there was people videotaping him today, then maybe we could hold on to that, and that could be passed on from generation to generation. But when I look at the 9/11 events, I mean, that's the most documented thing in human history, and you look at, I think it's a third of all Americans believe that didn't even happen, that wasn't planes flying into buildings, that somehow was...
I think it's a very powerful point, Jeff. I thank you. It's a terrific point. I had not thought of that, but the number of people who deny what is documented and is not supernatural. 9/11, the Holocaust, exactly. I mean, videoed, audioed, seen by great numbers of people on the spot, documented overwhelmingly by people who went through it. And there are people who say it's a trick. We didn't go to the moon. It was done at a Hollywood lot, a secret Hollywood lot somewhere in Arizona or wherever. It's a very, very good point. I mean, here are things that are not supernatural, that take no leaps of faith at all, And there is a serious percentage of people, that is over 10%, I'll call that serious, that just doesn't believe it. That's very good. Let's go to Temecula, California, and Joel. Hello, Joel. Dennis Prager.
Hey, Dennis. I love your show. Have for years. Thanks so much for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Well, I wanted to ask you a question. There's an idea that's going around among some natural law thinkers about whether people who claim not to believe in God are really just deceiving themselves, where perhaps at bottom they really do inherently know that God exists, but they refuse to acknowledge that fact. I don't necessarily think it's as simple as that, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on that possibility. And the reason I asked that question, Dennis, is because of this gentleman that called in about the sun turning blue. And it reminded me of how there are so many people that think that an explanation as to the mechanics of how some natural phenomena has happened is tantamount to an explanation about why something has happened, and that's just the presupposition of procedural naturalism. But I wanted you to maybe give me your thoughts on whether you think it's possible that people really do inherently know and they're just denying God's existence.
And why would they do that?
Cognitive dissonance, maybe just starting off with the presupposition that only...
All right. Well, look,
all
right, let me handle that, actually. I guess you could argue they would do it for whatever reason. They emotionally, psychologically, whatever, they don't want. I don't. I take people at their word. I think that most people who say that they do not believe, except there is a segment that don't believe out of anger, not out of conviction. I'll explain.
Hi, my name is Gloria, and I live in Agua Dulce, California. I was driving home one night, and you came on, and I was late, very late. And I literally had to pull over to listen to you because I knew I was going to drive into an area where I have no reception, and that's how much I wanted to hear you. I stayed there in front of somebody's house the whole time, and after you finished, I drove away, but I felt it looks rather criminal with me parked in front of some innocent person's home. But we miss you, and we'll be happy when you come back. But I liked hearing these also. Yes. Because I haven't always heard everything you've done. And so keep getting better and well and able to do things so that you can come back.
Are you enjoying Timeless Wisdom? We'd love to hear from you. Call 877-243-7776 and leave a review, share your thoughts, or just even an encouraging word for Dennis. Your voicemail might just make it on the show. That's 877-243-7776. That's 877-243-7776. Thanks for listening and for your support.
All right, my friends, you're listening to the Dennis Prager Show, the Ultimate Issues Hour. And a lot of people who don't believe in God, either as agnostic or as atheist, will say, well, I just don't have the evidence. Now, if they're looking for proof, God is not provable. But even if they did look for proof, what would be there? And so that's why I've taken on that question in the latest of my Prager University releases on YouTube, on video. Just go to prageruniversity.com. Today is the opening, as it were. You can see it on your computer. You don't have to go to a theater. Of my latest, after the first two, which were on happiness and on the American value system. And that is, what would make you believe in God? And I point out that there's nothing you can come up with. You can't even come up with something that would make you believe in God. See, what is there is already quite powerful. What would make you believe in God? And so, the last caller asked the question, well, he believes that deep down everybody who doesn't believe in God really does. And I don't know if that's true. I know that there are people who believe in God and they stop believing in God, or say they stop because they're so angry at God for all the injustice either in the world or in their own life. But that is, of course, while fully understandable, that is not an intellectual reaction. That is far more one of a psychological or emotional one. And I don't discount it at all. I'm just saying it's not an intellectual statement. Now I realize there is no God. But that's why this is such a powerful question, because when you really confront it, by golly, there isn't anything he can do that would do that, and because there's sufficient evidence now. Steve in Los Angeles, California. Dennis Prager, thank you for calling.
Yeah. First of all, you got to back up a little bit here. Why are you even concerned that God exists?
Because if God doesn't exist, then life is meaningless.
Well, I could. Then you must think that some of the religions, such as Buddhism and Taoism, which really don't make any statements about the existence of God, are quite happy about it being meaningless. How do you deal with
Well, that's true. Actually, Buddhism does hold that this life is meaningless.
No,
that is one of the central tenets of Buddhism.
Just a moment. It doesn't say the whole of existence is meaningless. It just said perhaps that there's suffering in this life. And
No. This life, I studied Buddhism in England under Trevor Ling, one of the great authors of books on Buddhism, and I think I have a basic understanding that the Buddhist view is that this life is meaningless, that the ultimate desideratum, the ultimate goal, is to escape the meaningless rounds of existence in this world and leave it, ultimately escaping into enlightenment where you realize all is nothing.
Well, there is the Bodhisattva. They come back, and in some ways they're revered.
Okay, all right. Anyway, Steve, you asked the question of why I think that God is so important.
Well, you didn't address that.
Well, I'm sorry. 1 second. Let me get back to you. 1 second, Steve. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't address what, Steve?
I said that aside, because I can go on for a while, but I don't think you adequately addressed it. But there is a hint here.
I didn't adequately address what?
Regarding the Eastern philosophies. But that aside, because I'm not necessarily being a proponent for them. That aside, there is a hint, and I'm not going to give the answer because it would take too long. You look at the Declaration of Independence, and there are 4 references to God and then 1 to the laws of nature. Each one deals with an aspect of God. There's 3 of them that are palpable, at least philosophically. There's 1 that is not. That's the problem one. I'm not going to tell you which one it is.
Okay, all right. Forgive me. I just don't know what any of that has to do with my particular issue. And forgive me. I know you obviously thought this through, and I deeply respect the fact that you have. Okay, let's go to Temecula, California, and Roger. Hi, Roger. Dennis Prager.
Hi, Dennis. First of all, I really appreciate the whole Prager University concept. I appreciate all your work. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
I was wondering if a bodily resurrection along the lines of the Lazarus story from the Old Testament would be something that would be impactful enough for a lot of folks.
From the New Testament.
I'm sorry, I say Old Testament, New Testament.
Right. So if somebody were resurrected, then that would do it, you think, for everybody? How would you see the problem? There would be.
I'm wondering how they would explain it away, I suppose.
Well, you wouldn't if you knew the person who had died, but everybody else would be very, very unmoved by that fact. They would think that some trick were done or that it really wasn't that person.
Yeah,
it would be. It would only work for you. You know, if let's say your grandfather is your grandfather deceased?
Yes.
Okay, so if your grandfather were resurrected, it might have the impact on you of unassailable proof that there is a God.
Well,
but it wouldn't on. Yeah, go on.
Well, the Lazarus situation was in front of a crowd of people. It wasn't just a.
You're right. So fine. So let's say a crowd of people. So I mean, a crowd of people. Even then. As the previous caller brilliantly noted, 9/11 happened before a very large crowd of people, and there are people who deny it.
So it kind of goes then to the motivation of one of the other callers, which is it's an active denial.
That's right. Yes, that is exactly. Well, I think it's active denial to see a baby born, to listen to a Bach cantata, to look at a beautiful canyon. to realize that I am talking to you right now, and we both have consciousness. I think it's an active denial that there is a creator God in just that. I don't need a resurrection, personally. That's the point of the video. That is the point that I am making. No matter what God did, we would up the ante for the next proof. I mean, this in and of itself blows my mind. That a caterpillar becomes a butterfly blows my mind. But it obviously doesn't blow a lot of atheist minds. Well, it makes perfect sense, enough time over enough period of enough age, and some mutation will occur, and a caterpillar will become a butterfly. Isn't that obvious? Enough mutations occur, and you get Beethoven's Fifth. Isn't that obvious? Back in a moment. You're listening to the Dennis Prager Show.
This episode of Timeless Wisdom will continue right after this.
Precious metals dealers come and go. This is Nick Grovich, president of AmFed Coin and Bullion. We've stood the test of time since 1983. With the flurry of coin and bullion dealers coming and going, how do you know who to trust and what to buy? At AmFed Coin and Bullion, we value educated consumers. We want to alert you to good bullion buys in the market and help you steer clear of the tricks and bad deals. Call AmFed Coin and Bullion for a free coin performance review. 800-221-7694 or AmericanFederal.com.
Now, back to more of Dennis Prager's Timeless Wisdom.
You have a friend on whom you think you can rely. You are a lucky man. If you found the reason to live on and not to die, you are a lucky man. Preachers and poets and scholars don't know it. Temples and statues and steeples won't show it. If you've got the secret, just try not to blow it.
All righty, we've come to the final segment of this Ultimate Issues Hour. Dennis Prager here, inaugurating the third of my videos at PragerUniversity.com. These are meant to help people to grasp some big stuff in a very short period of time and in the most entertaining way possible. The motto is, you give us 5 minutes, we'll give you a semester. That's why we call it a university. So you just go to PragerUniversity.com. It is a very good way to introduce me to people who don't otherwise listen to the show. And it is just a good way to get these values out to a lot of people, because I'm very afraid about the values ignorance that exists in our society. This one is, what would make you believe in God? Simple as that. And I argue in it that there is nothing God can do that would prove to everybody that he exists. That to me, there is sufficient proof right now. But nothing would do it. Howard disagrees in Queens, New York, on the Apple. Hello, Howard. Dennis Prager.
Hi, I just don't think you're being creative enough. If voices in every language in the world predicted that tomorrow people should stand in some clearance in their country and 17,000 elephants would suddenly appear, and that above the White House, Osama bin Laden's dead body would make 3 rounds in the air and then come down and turn into a monkey, I believe that if he did these things and continued to do them periodically, everybody except the most tiny minority would believe in God. George Burns pulled off some of those stunts in the movie Oh God and had the whole courtroom believing in about 20 seconds. But it wasn't as creative as what I just said, but surely God could do things like that and everyone would believe except for 1 or 2 people.
Okay, that's a thought. If everybody announced something like that, I think that a lot of people would think extraterrestrials were involved. That it doesn't mean that there is a God at all. It just means that there is some force that is acting. That is what people say now. People who are atheists don't deny that there is some more powerful force out there, and many scientists, in fact, believe that life on Earth could not be accounted for by Earth alone. But they don't believe that it was a god. They believe that it was extraterrestrials who had spores from their own spaceships or whatever they came here with, or from their own extraterrestrial bodies. It wouldn't in any way argue for a God. And if that were the God, I would consider God to be a very Lulu nutty God who did that. Here, watch. I will have 17 elephants appear before all of you on time, and then have a president's body circulate and then turn into a monkey. Frankly, I'm not sure I would believe in God at all. I think the world was governed by nonsense. Dan, Tim, Eric, Carrie, Keith, all excellent calls. I wish I could get to you. Again, PragerUniversity.com. This is where the videos are. Please watch, send me your reactions, and send them along. This has been the Ultimate Issues Hour. I think there's sufficient proof that there is a God.
Tomorrow on Timeless Wisdom with Dennis Prager.
Reading women's minds. The key is that, generally speaking, men believe that men should be able to read their minds. Here's the question. Is that true? And women, you have to be honest on this. Would you like your man to be able to know what you want, what you're thinking, how you're feeling, without you spelling it out?
Join us tomorrow to hear more on Timeless Wisdom with Dennis Prager. Visit DennisPrager.com for thousands of hours of Dennis's lectures, courses, and classic radio programs, and to purchase Dennis Prager's Rational Bibles. We want to take just a second to thank the team at Life Audio for their partnership with us on the podcast. Go to lifeaudio.com to find dozens of other faith-centered podcasts in their network, including shows about prayer, Bible study, parenting, and more.
Precious metals dealers come and go. This is Nick Grovich, president of AmFed Coin and Bullion. We've stood the test of time since 1983. With the flurry of coin and bullion dealers coming and going, how do you know who to trust and what to buy? At AmFed Coin and Bullion, we value educated consumers. We want to alert you to good bullion buys in the market and help you steer clear of the tricks and bad deals. Call AmFed Coin and Bullion for a free coin performance review. 800-221-7694 or AmericanFederal.com.